Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Public Works Committee of the Common Council. It's Tuesday, April 2nd, and we'll call the meeting to order at 7:02. Roll call, I think we have Melissa Murray here, Heather Dunn, Barbara Smith, Nora Najelski-Eitner, and Darlene Young. So we have a quorum. We're missing one person, Dewan Wiggins. Okay, I'd like to open up the meeting for public comment. Anybody who is online and who has anything to say that is based on the agenda, we'll have 3 minutes per speaker. So do we have anybody on the line?
We do. Ms. Larchello, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chairman Freer.
Wait, hold on one second. Dewan's
Sure.
waiting to get in. He
Okay.
said, ask whoever to let him in. Sorry.
I don't see him.
He says he's waiting. I don't know. All right. I'll send it to him again.
I'll send him an invite because if you send him yours, it's going to come in. I'll do that now.
Yeah.
Can I take back my time, Mr. Chairman?
I don't know.
And
I'll think it over.
Don't start the 3-minute warning yet until you tell me to go.
I'll grant you your full 3 minutes. Don't worry.
Let me know when you want me to begin.
Yep, I will.
Okay, I resent him the invite.
texted him and told him.
Okay, here he comes. Okay. All right, Dewan, you there?
Yes, thank you. You know what it was? I hit the wrong link and it said waiting for another meeting, but that's what it was.
Okay, great. Glad you made it. Okay, Ms. Lorcelli, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee members. Tonight, there are several very important and items of interest to me. I am here tonight representing the Norwalk Zero Waste Coalition, which is a coalition of people that either professionally or aspirationally care about optimizing our recycling programs, reducing waste, and helping educate people about reuse, reducing, etc. Tonight, you have several contracts that you're going to be voting on. As far as your WinWaste, the 3 contracts, especially looking at the recycling contract for WinWaste to extend, I say that I'm in support of the extension with a caveat that before a new RFP is completed, the wording that the following takes place. And I'm in a discussion briefly with Tom Szabo and the chairman about these items. But I don't want to see us jumping ahead before we have a very good understanding of our waste streams. So there's something called a waste characterization analysis that is needed before we send out a request for proposals, in my opinion, professionally. Tom Szabo is finding towns that have done it, and I'm trying to help him. It's the basis for deciding. Number 2, I believe there also has to be further examination of the possibility of future unit-based pricing programs or co-collection programs or save-as-you-throw programs. And I don't have time, but I'm happy to be a guest speaker to explain what those are in the future. Your food waste report tonight will show that while we do have this program, I still feel it can be optimized. Long story short is that for the many contracts for your review tonight, each one of them has not been optimized to the point where we can have a sustainable program, not only sustainable talking about environmental management, but also sustainably financially. And so I look forward to still continuing a discussion with Mr. Chairman, any of the members, and of course, Mr. Szabo and Vanessa in the near future. But we're in a waste crisis in the state as well as, I believe, in Norwalk. I do believe with this, lastly, with this contract with Win Waste on the recycling, I would like to know tonight, I hope it's discussed, what I know that we have in the extension of the program, we are not receiving the same money that we used to receive in order to have them pick up the recycling and gain market-based pricing. And I wanted to know, what are we making from our recycling? Because I looked on the big board, like the financial big board, and cardboard and metal are hot right now. And all those numbers do vary with the markets worldwide, but what kind of money are we getting for our recyclables, our metal, our cardboard, and our electronics? So with that, I thank you very much. I think we need to have some very focused, maybe have a special summit about how we can have a better waste program and recycling program in the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lauricella. Are there any other speakers?
We have nobody else raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll close the public comment section at this time. Which brings us to new business, has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes of the last meeting on March 5th? If so, unless there is any corrections or unless there's any corrections or revisions, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Heather, Ms. Dunn. Are there any other questions, any comments on the minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? 1, 2. Mr. Wiggins, are you in favor?
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain because I didn't have a chance to go over it.
Okay. Okay, so I have one abstention or one abstention, and everyone else is in favor. Okay. All right, new business. The first item on the list is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a master municipal agreement for the construction projects required for municipal projects for constructing improvements to roadways, structures, transportation facilities that are eligible for governmental financial assistance from Connecticut DOT, the federal government, or both, together with such project authorization letters and other instruments necessary to implement the funding and undertake such construction project under that master agreement. Do you have a motion on this? Ms. Murray, any questions or comments? Let me just say that this is an ongoing blanket authorization with the Connecticut DOT, periodically renewed. The existing one recently expired, so this is a replacement of that. Ms. Valadares, is there anything you want to mention on this?
I also have Mr. Kellingham here in the call. So this is the municipal agreement that we have with Connecticut DOT. So this contract pretty much summarize all the negotiations that we ended up with doing with DOT through a very streamlined process. So all the time there is any project that they're going to be doing or funding in the city, we are able to, the mayor can sign, and then we can receive some of the grants, or even if we have to pay on the non-participating items through that, and also some grants. As Mr. Freyer explained, this is an ongoing contract that we have for many years. And the last one, of course, expired, and now DOT is looking for renewal.
Mr. Callahan, you want to add anything to that? You're on.
No, Ms. Valadares is spot on. It's the state of Connecticut DOT's master agreement, a 10-year contract. We were just expired on our previous one. They update these from time to time. So instead of doing extension, it's actually a new master municipal agreement, but it's quite similar to the previous ones we've entered into. It's necessary for accessing the funds and how we administer our projects, and it actually provides for a more seamless and quick turnaround of projects, because once the agreement's in place, it's a 1-page or 2-page project authorization letter that allows us to access the funds. That's about it.
Okay, good. It's kind of a lengthy document, so I'm relying on you to tell me it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
That's what we pay you for, Darren.
Exactly. That's why you get the big bucks. Okay, looks like everybody, it's unanimous. Okay, so,
Question about that?
I'm sorry.
I am voting yes, but is it open-ended? It didn't, or is it just that document? Because it doesn't say,
It's a single agreement for a term of 10 years. It's what it basically establishes is the basis in which we can request and receive funds from the state. It also sets forth the parameters in which we either engage engineer or other like professionals, and the parameters for which we conduct construction projects. And there's 2 separate streams of procedures, but it's really just mechanical of how we comply more or less with DOT requirements.
so if he was not the mayor, we'd have to come and sign a new contract, or no?
No, it's every 10 years, so we won't have to sign a new one, thankfully, for another 10 years.
If
That's
we
not
didn't
based
have the master, Mrs. Dunn, I think that I understand what is the confusion. In case we don't have a master agreement with DOT, every single project that we do with them, that we would either receive a grant or that we need to, or they will be doing here, and this would include the bridges, some of the grant for paving that they send it to us, everything related to the walk bridge, every single one, we have to go in front of everyone for approval. So, and then also it has the whole part that we make Darren work, because imagine all these contracts, they come with all the terms that goes to legal, then they go back and forth between the city and DOT to agree on the language.
I guess I totally agree with citing it. My question more was, if you put a specific mayor's name in it, does it change how?
No, it will not, but I'll let the legal person answer.
Don't want it
No,
to,
I mean, in our department, we wouldn't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
that's all. I just didn't want you to be held to something if,
No, we'd look at it as an implied authorization for any mayor to execute the project authorization letters. But I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, maybe I pushed that vote for the approval of this too fast.
You
Ms.
didn't get my vote.
Najelski, no, but Nora might have had her hand up and
Okay.
wanted to ask a question. Were you voting yes?
I was just voting yes, no questions here.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's unanimous then. Thank you. Number 3. Number 3, 3A and 3B are related. And we'll explain that. Number 3 is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements and other instruments necessary to convey the 72 plus or minus square foot temporary construction easement for purposes of installing a temporary guide anchor in Vets Park per Connecticut DOT 102-301-176-54. Compilation map dated November 2023, enclosed with the agenda for just compensation of $2,500. We have a motion on this. Ms. Smith, thank you. This is just a very small easement, just to put a guide wire into, or connect the guide wire in the just off the Route 136, and that enters into a piece of a little corner of Vets Park. I have to really compliment Ms. Valderas for putting the $2,500 in there, because they originally wanted to do it for $500, but we got them up to $2,500. So that was a very good move, particularly in our budget situation this year. Any questions on this? Comments? All in favor? Mr. Wiggins? You in favor?
Yeah, I had my hand up.
Okay, didn't see it, sorry.
Sorry, no
Okay,
problem.
it's approved, it's unanimous. 3B is basically the same thing, a referral to Planning and Zoning Commission for review and report and conveyance of the 72 plus or minus square foot temporary construction easement for purposes of installing a temporary guide anchor in Veterans Park per Connecticut DOT 102-301-176-54, compilation map dated November 2023, enclosed with the agenda. Can I have a motion? Okay, Ms. Murray, thank you. This is basically the fact that we have to go to planning and zoning with this, since it is an easement and they have to refer to it. This part will not be on the council's, and when we bring this to the council next week, because it has to go to the planning and zoning separately. All those in favor? Any conversation, any questions, any comments?
Jim, will it come to us after planning and zoning? It will, right? Or
Yes, it will.
Yes, it's just that you need to see both approvals, Mrs. Young. So Public Works approved tonight. Then you guys are referring to P&Z for A24 approval. And after it gets approved, then we move both to Common Council.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, great, it's unanimous again. Okay, number 4. The next 3 are all related to the new contract, with the extension of the contract with Win Waste. So number 4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the agreement with Win Waste Innovation Holdings, formerly City Carting, Inc., for citywide municipal solid waste collection dated September 28th, 2012, to exercise its option to extend the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2025, based on the terms and fee schedule set out in the attached proposal dated December 1st, 2022. The fee for the July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, the fee will be $2,220,750. Do I have a motion? Ms. Smith, thank you. This is one of 3. This also came before the council. I think it was made known to the council last year. or to this committee, at least last year, that this was going to happen. And it indicated what the increases. The increases for all of these three contracts are 5% increase year over year. Anybody have any questions or comments?
My
Lisa?
only comment about wind waste, and I think I've said this before, is that I know that when they were city carting, that they made a commitment to hire local. And I'm going to continue to say that they have done that and they continue to do that. So I'm happy
Okay.
about wind waste.
Okay,
And
good.
do I need to move this too? Did someone already move that? It might have been
No,
part.
it's already been moved.
I thought Nora, okay.
And Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner?
Thank you, Chair. So Vanessa, just following up on this, I mean, I know we are expecting an update on a larger strategic plan. I understand the desire to extend this until we get that strategic plan, but do you have a sense of when that is coming?
I do. Thanks for asking that. We are finalizing a draft for the RFP or bid that we are hoping to have it finished by next month. The idea is to try to hit the streets within before a year that this contract expires, because this will give time to, in case we get a new vendor, to be able for him to be able to get all the trucks necessary to continue the collection, not only on the solid waste, but also on the recycling. What we are planning to do is that we're still, what will happen is that you guys gonna see a summary of what this RFP will be, including a good part of what this study is gonna be wrap up before it gets wrapped up, because part of the study will be after all these prices come back. It will give us also, as part of the study, what will be the next steps on it, like a midterm and long term as well. But we need some costs associated to it. Unfortunately, we cannot disclose yet all the terms of our procurement process. But what we're probably going to have, as soon as we have pretty much almost finalized draft, we're going to have another meeting, either in front of Common Council or a special meeting with this committee. And then we're going to do a presentation showing exactly what was the study about, what the committee decided, what were some of the decisions that were made by the committee, and how we are wrapping up the package. The idea is that we want all the Common Council members to be very comfortable with the bid. So when we get the vendors back and we are able to support who's going to be awarded, you guys are also on board with what was the process. So I believe that we're going to be able to do the presentation within the month of May. It will not be in the next meeting, but probably within 1 or 2 weeks after it. It's just pending on us to finalize the bid.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no,
we're actually.
Oh.
Good. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I definitely think that it's very important that this committee have some input into that. I think that there's a lot of we have a lot of thoughts about sort of priorities, and I think some of the complications that relate to this, not just in terms of the bids themselves, but also some of the infrastructure questions, right? You're going to be hearing from me at some point in relation to some of the capital projects, the transfer stations. I think there's an enormous amount of overlapping and intersecting issues kind of going on right here. And I do really want us to be able to look at this in the full big picture sooner rather than later, so that we don't get in a situation where we're down the line and we're unhappy with kind of where things are going. So I'm excited to hear that, but I would really urge, I would rather see less complete rather than more complete. I think would be more helpful to this committee. I think I would much rather have input earlier in the process to the extent we can, because I do think there's a number of things that the committee members are going to have real thoughts on that are going to impact the council's perception of the bidding process. And it would be potentially helpful for you to get some of that sooner rather than later.
Sure.
Yeah, we discussed this earlier today, and I think that we're gonna shoot for sometime, possibly, what were the dates we put out? May 10th or May 14th, I think.
Yes,
Somewhere in those names.
we'll
We-
try that. We should be in a very good position soon. So as I believe that by next month, you guys are gonna have a very good
Yeah.
idea. I also want to remind everyone that there was a committee that was formed to go over, that was helping also our consultant to answer some questions and some decisions. And also our consultant interview few key stakeholders throughout the process, inclusive the Zero Waste Coalition members, was also interviewed, and some of the input from small haulers and all that was also taken in consideration.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Any other questions? Any comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, looks unanimous again, so thank you. Number 5, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a 5th amendment to the agreement with Wind Waste Innovations Holdings, former City Carting, Inc., for curbside recycling collection services dated June 30th, 2004. To exercise, excuse me, its option to extend the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2025, based on the terms and the fee schedule set out in the attached proposal dated December 1st, 2022. The fee for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 will be $1,572,480. An additional commodity pricing fee of $750,000 will be added each annual base fee and is subject to available incentives based on the community revenue share, which is 80% City of New York, City of Norwalk, and 20% Wind Waste. Account so noted. Can I have a motion on that?
I'll move that.
Okay, Ms. Murray. Any comments or questions
No,
on this?
Jim, I think Darlene moved that. She was first.
Okay. Ms. Young then. Okay. Comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I just want to, I know that was one of the comments from Ms. Lauricella earlier.
Yeah.
We do receive, as part of this 80% revenue based on the commodity. I just want to also clarify what happened. The commodity, the recycle market changed a lot in the past few years. Before, it used to be really a source of revenue, and that really had a big change due to the market in Asia. So that's why this contract, we receive 80% of whatever is the commodity revenue value on it. But just to give you guys an idea, in the month of January, we received $32,000. So unfortunately, we cannot make as a fixed value, but this can, at least you guys can have an idea about $30,000 times 12. We are paying $750, but we are bringing back close to, if continues the market like that, about $300,000, $360,000. So then I just want to point that out.
And that varies, that amount is based on a published rates that they have for those different commodities.
Correct. So that's why we don't want to, we don't show the revenue on it. And then when we budget, we are not budgeting with the revenue as well. The revenue goes to the general account, but it's just so you guys have an idea about, I know that Ms. Lauricella pointed out that some of those products have been higher, and yes, we saw that increase. Some of the checks that we saw in the beginning was less, and then also the volume was bigger, right? Usually in December is a month that there is a lot of collection of recycle in general. But that's why. But besides that, I want to also remind you that we are trying to minimize all the solid waste that goes through the streamline, particularly with the recycle. That's why Mr. Zabel was very good in send out this program that is with the iRecycle, where we have pop-out events where people can bring their bottles and cans and then sell it to it at 10 cents. So instead of us paying as the city to drop that, the resident has the option to fill a bag and receive some money from it. And that actually ended up reducing how much we're paying as the tipping fee as well.
And one other thing on the revenue that's generated here is historically the CFO of the city has not wanted to recognize that revenue on a regular basis because of the volatility of it either going up or going down. It would be very difficult to, and he was very reluctant to put any number in there for fear that they wouldn't be able to reach that number, and so it would be a shortfall on the revenue side of the budget. So that's in the past anyway. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Number 6. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a Fifth Amendment to the service agreement with Wind Waste Innovation Holdings, former city carding, for transfer station operation, transport, and disposal services for municipal solid waste dated August 4th, 2008, to exercise its option to extend the term of the agreement through June 30th, 2025, based on the terms and fee schedule set out in the attached proposal dated December 1st, 2022. The transfer station operations fee for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 will be $919,800, and the transfer and disposal fee will be $101.85 per ton. Account so noted. Motion?
Motion to move the item.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Young. Any comments or questions on this?
My comment is, my first comment I meant to say now. I saw all those win items and got excited. I know this was the one I wanted to comment on, but that's all.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous as well. Okay, number 7 is authorize the mayor to execute an access license agreement in favor of Eversource for use for a portion of Madison Street Park needed for the purpose of replacing its deteriorating optical ground wire 10/8/28 line OPGW replacement project. This is just a small little square in right off Madison Street, where we're really just giving access to Eversource to come in and do some work. Anything that any disturbance of the property or anything like that will be paid for by Eversource. Is there anything else we should add to that, Ms. Valderas?
No, it's a very small thing. Unfortunately, we cannot, because it is a parcel, we cannot just give them an encroachment permit. We need to do a little license agreement so we are covered and we can require the insurance and all that. But they're going to be there just for a few days. It's very minor.
Okay. Do you have a motion on that? Ms. Nijelski-Eitner, thank you. Any questions, any comments? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Number 8, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the First Amendment of the February 23rd, 2021 agreement for the transportation and disposal of yard waste materials between the City of Norwalk and Wind Waste Innovation Holdings, formerly City Carding, for an amount not to exceed $275,000, account noted. Do you have a motion on this? Ms. Nadjelski, thank you. This is just, this is part of the waste, yard waste material that is transported out of the yard waste, out of the yard waste receptacle yard. Anything that you want to add to that, Ms. Valdez?
No, I think that it is just a contract
what it
we
is,
have since 2021, and then it is, and when we bid it, we had the option to extend, so this is just the extension of it.
Yeah. Any comments? Any questions? Ms. Nadjelski?
Thank you, Chair. It looked to me like we're extending it for 2 years. Is that right?
Yes,
Why are we doing that instead of just doing a 1-year extension?
was the way that was the bid.
Oh, okay. Okay. So do we think that we're going to be addressing yard waste in the new overall waste management plan?
I can't remember if we're gonna have an item for yard waste for sure. I know that we're gonna have for bulky waste.
Okay.
The yard waste, we're still debating if we were gonna include it or not. Sometimes we may include we are trying to see what is the best. We always try to get the best price. So sometimes if it is too big, we ended up eliminating a lot of people. Sometimes if we make it a little smaller, we can give some contracts to somebody else. So what we do comparison with other towns and what are the prices that they are getting, and that's how we make the decision. So that's why, as of now, I don't want to share too much on how the bid is, but we are taking consideration, but we are not yet set on the yard waste.
Okay. Well, and I'll just add, I mean, I've raised this before. I really was hoping to see in this waste management plan, some real thought into how we might convert our yard waste into a composting situation. I recognize that that's not an immediate thing, but I do think that that should be part of the planning process here. I mean, we're spending $275,000 to have this stuff hauled out so that we can buy back compost to use for our organic land management plan, right? So I was really hoping that this was going to be part of the conversation of the waste management plan, is the kind of, thing that why I'd like to see the waste management plan sooner rather than later, because I do think that kind of long-term planning is part of what we were really hoping to have in a sort of comprehensive overview here.
And that will be, I have some other ideas for that.
Okay.
That I start talking with other municipalities to see if how much they will be open, but it wouldn't be part of this RFP. But definitely it's something that we have been very cautious, and we know that there is an opportunity to try to save some money and be more sustainable with all the food scrap and bring more composting. So, but unfortunately, we do not have the site for it in town. So we're trying to see if we can maybe work with other municipalities and make like a common area. But I have to first get this contract with the solid waste, because we are running out of time. This is our last extension, but our work doesn't stop here. There is much more that we want to do for the city related to sustainability and all that.
And I appreciate that. I will say that too, I really would though push back also to say that I think the yard waste is actually very different. It's much simpler than food scraps, and really would be a great opportunity to pilot a composting approach, right? Yard waste is much easier to compost than food scraps. You don't have the animal issues. It can be done in a fairly simple, I mean, I've looked at examples of people doing it with a fairly basic, like literally just like pipes and aeration under, that's fairly simple structure. So I'm just, I would say that this struck me as an opportunity to really, do something potentially even on the site we already have, because if I'm looking at the way it's being done in some of the other municipalities, it's really literally just piles being moved. And so if you have enough space to move piles, which it certainly appears to me we do in our own yard waste current setup. So I'm just flagging that for consideration. I think getting into food scraps is much more complicated than the yard waste. And so it would seem like, that's why I'm a little hesitant to commit to 2 years here, when it feels like the place we might actually have an opportunity to do something sooner rather than later.
Would that existing yard that we have facilitate what Ms. Angelski is talking about?
Unfortunately, our site is very tight there, right, Chris?
That is correct. It's not just yard waste. We put stumps and all kind sweepings. It's very small, believe it or not, and it's not permitted for that. And you're right, Councilwoman Eichner. We should be thinking about that in the future, absolutely, and it should be in our thought process. But right now, we've exhausted, I believe, until we find some of the logistical things that we need to. It's not something that we can do now, and I think that you're making it sound a little bit more simple than it really is.
And that
Well,
very much may be the case.
my-
I mean, I fully agree. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't have complexities. I think I'm just flagging it though as something that I'd really hoped to see in this yard waste or in this comprehensive waste management plan, because it seems like kind of low hanging fruit there. So that's all. It's an issue I've raised, a couple of times, and that's also part of why I was a little surprised not to see it addressed. This is not the first time we've discussed it, and so that's all. I'm just, again, flagging there. This is the kind of reason that I think public discussion of the waste management plan sooner rather than later would help the council feel confident about the decisions that are being made, because there are a number of issues that we have raised over time. And if there's good reason not to do it, there's good reason not to do it. That's great. But we need an explanation of that, and we need that to be acknowledged so that the public can see that our comments are being brought into the process, and that the public's concerns about this, particularly on issues where it's a combination of sort of efficiency and sustainability, are really being addressed and being thought through strategically. That's all.
Yeah, well, no, and I appreciate that you remind us of that. And again, it's something that even if it is not being addressed right now with this RFP, it is something that we are still looking into it. We are trying to always be, again, as you are aware, they may want to have Norwalk as the greenest city in Connecticut, and we are really aligned with that goal. So that's what we're trying to implement, how we can be more efficient and sustainable throughout. And we're trying through our major contract now, and we're really seeing what we can do related to composting is something that has been under our radar.
Thank you.
Okay. So within 2 years, we'll have an answer. Okay. All those in favor? Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3. All those opposed? 1. Okay, we have one in opposition. Okay, that's approved. Number 9, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reeling, to execute the First Amendment to the March 11th, 2021 agreement for the transportation disposal, street sweepings, catch basin grit, and broken structural concrete between the city of Norwalk and DW Transport and Leasing Company for an amount not to exceed $150,000. Account so noted. This is pretty straightforward, just moving the debris that's picked up from the street cleaning, plus any other accidents or debris that's found in the streets. You have a motion on that? Ms. Najelski-Eitner, thank you. Any comments, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. The next section is just for any discussion. I assume everybody's had an opportunity to look through the reports. Is there anything that we have some questions on? We have Mr. Torrey here that can answer any some of the questions on tree operations, and I think we also have Mr. Zabo here who can talk about the monthly solid waste and the food scrap drop off. Do we have any specific questions? Mr. Jusgagnon?
Just one very quick one. And I think this is more just, this is an opportunity to provide some public education. We've gotten some feedback about the necessity of removing some of the trees around the Norwalk High School project. Can you all just talk about the process for which trees get replanted and how you all monitor and make sure that when we need to remove trees in order to do construction, that you all sort of account for that in your planning process for tree planting going forward?
Sure. Chris, do you want that I explain, or you would like to explain that? You're muted.
You can start, Vanessa. How about trees are accounted for in the construction process? And then I can take it from there about the posting, and that we are cognizant about root damage for sidewalks. We actually have an issue now where we're not taking down a tree to accommodate a sidewalk, which is a sticky subject. I don't know how that's going to go, but I hope it goes in the nature's favor. So Vanessa, I'll hand it off to you, and then I'll take it back.
So if a tree is on, if it is a city tree, it should be a city tree, has to be on the right of way or on a city parcel. If the tree has a caliper above 6 inches, the tree has to be posted before we remove for at least 10 days. So anyone can oppose the removal, protest the removal of the tree, and that there is a process that we have to hold a public hearing for it. You now, based on one of the last ordinance that was passed, it is for every tree that is removed, there is usually is a 2-to-1 in planting it back. So DPW do not oversee part of that planting plan on the developers, is under the PMZ to make sure that gets accomplished. But we do, if it is just like a right-of-way project, and it's our own city projects, we usually ended up exceeding the planting of the trees that we ended up removing. So particularly on Norwalk High, that yes, there were a lot of comments from the neighborhood. I believe that now they understood, and the trees now will be only the very needed ones will be removed, and also they're going to phase out the removal to do a less impact on the visual part and as the barrier for those neighbors. And then there is a very extensive planting plan as part of the school project itself that will put it back the canopy. Also, as you guys are aware, we have an arborist now as part of our staff, and our goal is to increase Norwalk Street canopy, and she has been working very hard on really make sure that even those grants that we have received, we have a $1 million grant that we received last year that is ready to expand the canopy, and where are the areas that canopy needs to be increased. So we are working aligned with the plan, with the Recreation and Parks Master Plan also. So all that is really like the guidebook that we have been using to increase the tree canopy in the city.
Great, thank you very much. I think that's very helpful public information for folks to understand.
One of the things too is Sarah Cruz is the person that Vanessa was speaking of, and she's an arborist and I think a horticulturist. So, and she is constituting our master plan for our canopy and land management. So we're very excited about that to kind of take us forward from where I believe we became stagnant, not because of a lack of trying, more of a lack of education. And she's kind of educating all of us.
Ms. Murray?
I think this is more of a state issue, but I live over near Norden where we've just had the nursery put into the Norden place that covers the it's kind of a contractor yard and storage area for MTA. And it's helped to have trees. They've put a line of pine trees and it makes a, otherwise really not a difficult situation a little bit better. I haven't shared the feedback when Sarah Cruz did her meeting because I just didn't know. I hadn't seen it sort of in practice. But we are going to have a lot of contractor yards over here in East Norwalk with the MTA, but there is some sort of city sharing of that over near like the old Rite Aid or the old Hojo's. Is there any way to get more tree coverage for some of the neighborhoods that abut those contractor yards? Is it kind of like budget already spent, everything's already allocated? Is there any way to kind of share that feedback? And
we usually do not plant trees on because our money is limited, right? So we try to
Right.
plant the trees on the right of way or our own parcel. Although there is a program that adopt a tree that we have, that actually it will be in our social media tomorrow again to remind people that they can request trees where they want trees. So if you guys submit requests where we should be planting the trees, we're looking into those as well. Now, to answer your question, this is more when the construction, the developer comes in front of the planning and zoning, they are the ones that should be requesting that those trees should be planted to minimize the impact. Is usually not under public works because we look more on the right of way, not on private property.
I figured, but I thought I'd try. Thank
No,
you.
but it is a good thing. And what we try to always make sure that looks nicer. And it's something that we can definitely share with them.
Well, one of my other concerns, and we're over here in East Norwalk with, there's a lot of East Norwalk that's pretty higher end, but we do have, of course, some of the neighborhoods that abut these areas are the more marginalized. And I was just looking for ways that we could, reduce the impact and make it a little bit more comfortable to those neighborhoods. So,
and again, but one way that we can also do it is planting trees in front of houses that they just need to request that. And
Okay.
that does make a difference. The person is responsible for maintaining the tree. They have to water the tree. There's a little contract that goes with it. Planted a lot of trees all over, not only when we're doing projects, but in some areas that people may prefer that there is more green area. So that one we can definitely help with.
okay, thanks. I appreciate it very much.
I was very surprised that when Lisa and I were banging on doors during the campaign, when we find a home that just, was really screaming for a tree to be put in front, even just down by the roadway. And we suggested that they get in touch with Vanessa, and it's interesting that quite a few of them said, no, we don't want any trees. That's a lot of leaves we got to rake up, and we like the green grass and all that stuff, and so we don't want trees here. So, okay, but I think is it the Norwalk Tree Alliance? Is that who we also have some relationship with? And is it the Tree Alliance? I'm not sure.
We do have a partnership with the Tree Alliance and the Paul group,
yeah, and they just got a big grant, I think, and they've got plenty of money to plant trees.
well, there was a donation to the city from a private person that gave quite a bit of money to quite a bit of groups.
Yeah.
And I would echo Vanessa's statement that any city department where they have the ability to finesse or encourage construction and building and residential permitting to plant trees on their property as part of that process should be encouraged, not discouraged.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Any other questions on the on the reports from the staff? Okay. All right. Is there any other comments? Anybody else want to bring anything up? Okay, I'll,
Back to the trees, I don't think this is for this committee particularly, other than the fact that we're talking about it, but trees really are a great buffer around construction areas. And the area that I'm thinking about right now, of course, is on Meadow Street with the new South Norwalk School. And it's something we have talked about publicly in other meetings. And, I know that, it's difficult. It can be very difficult to force, a private company to spend that money to create those buffers. So, maybe that's something that the ordinance committee might be able to look at in terms of what we can do around there to make this happen, because it really does help lots of trees.
but
100%
I'm sorry,
agree.
Ms. Young, you had your hand up?
No, I just want to say thank you, Barbara. And so this has been said many, many times before. So maybe this is the conversation that will move this forward in a way that makes sense and addresses all of the areas that have been neglected for so long, that look like what Ms. Murray has described and worse. So if this is the conversation that moves that along, thank you, because it's a problem, and not just for construction time for South Norwalk, but it's been a problem for a very long time, decades. And so I think what we've asked for is very similar to what you've kind of said. Folks just want a buffer. We're not trying to put anybody out of business. We
Exactly.
want to, right? You want to feel proud of where you are, regardless of where it is, of what it looks like. And so that's what we're looking for as well.
And I'm sorry to bring it up, Ms. Valadares, in this meeting, because I know you don't have a lot of control, but I think I brought it up here because I know that Mr. Torrey and Ms. Valadares and Mr. Zebo are just incredibly supportive of extra trees and sort of get it. And I just wanted to amplify the conversation. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. There's no anything animosity, against what was just said. I think it had to be said, and I'm glad it's being said in a different circle, right? At a different meeting. And so that means different ears are hearing this, hopefully. Thank
So
you.
what you're saying is we can bring this up again tomorrow evening when we have the building, Barbara's commission.
Land
or
use and building
committee.
management,
Everywhere.
everywhere,
it's done.
everywhere. We talk
All the
about it
time.
everywhere.
No, but I think it's true.
Buffers.
It's very true. I mean, we've seen pictures of the buildings going up the schools, and often somebody says, "Hey, wait a minute, how come you don't have any trees around that?" And we're told that they will be planting trees, and it's going to be beautiful. You won't notice you won't notice the buildings any longer. So I think that's important that we do bring that up periodically.
Definitely.
And it's not just public works.
Well, and planning and zoning too. I mean, this
Exactly.
this is a discussion that needs to happen, in economic and community development meetings with the planning and zoning department, with planning and zoning commission. And there has been some improvement around that, but we can do better.
Okay. Ms. Dunn?
I know, Darlene, okay. Vanessa, my other question, when I think about the city and the places that I think are the worst, and probably even like what Melissa's talking about, a lot of it seems to be state land, especially along the highway, the connector, and even MTA along the railroad spots, especially as like when you go along the North River Valley Trail, I noticed things outside your purview. Is there anything that we can do to help?
Oh, that one we are trying very hard. Actually, on those ones, then it's through our department, because usually we are the first ones that have the main interaction with DOT, and usually we make them put those trees down. A big win that we had was, I know it's not showing yet because the trees are not planted, was as part of the I-95 median project. When you get to the exit 16, what they came to us originally was like pretty much few shrubs, and we're like, oops, no way. And we've been, and also with the support of Senator Duff, also that he helped us a lot on that. We're gonna have a we were able to cut in half the commuter lot because they were planning to expand it. And we said, well, we don't think that we need a bigger lot there. We'd rather have kind of a little park. And that's why it is not planted. There is only a few trees there, but the remaining will happen this year. But yes, we try to do that in all of the areas that DOT will do a project. We always require the landscape map with it, and we usually ask for more than they offered the first time.
And
there-
that's about the only control we have with the state. They do not post trees for removal, which doesn't give anyone the opportunity to protest or actually learn about a state project along I-95 or the Merritt Parkway or wherever else the state has property. So that is something that you guys as council people can speak to Bob Duff at his level people and say, hey, how come no one in this legislature is asking the state DOT, like, how come they could just take down 57 trees between exit 17 and exit 16 and overnight and no one questions it? And if we take a tree down, it's, I don't know.
I think a lot of my other questions aren't necessarily the building the trees or taking down, but like we have a lot of those, what Tree of Heaven, the spotted lanternfly trees that they love. And it seems to be on a lot of that land. I know like across from Jefferson School, there's a lot of stuff along that corridor.
Yeah, they own that right of way. They
Not
use
very
it as
clean.
the staging area. Yeah.
Cleaned up. And I don't know how to you get to them about that, other than I guess Lucy or Bob. Yeah. Sorry.
I want to agree with Heather. I mentioned that I noticed that the spotted lanterns, when they were in our neighborhood here, they were where there was more concrete. I don't know if it was something about the color. What did you say?
Metal. They're like on bridges. If you have metal, like
Yes.
they love metal for some reason.
Right. And so the whole area behind Rite Aid, but there are, I think Chris is the point that there is a neighborhood, there are right of ways that are private and not state owned, that maybe we could work with the residents to get, tree plantings there, but there seems to be a lot of metal, so there's more over there, and then they kind of go into the neighborhood. So I did notice that.
Okay, any other
Questions, Vanessa?
questions?
Or just speak, reach out to them if we have concerns, or should we kind of collaborate to come up with the areas of concern and maybe send them to you and them, or I don't know.
You guys can send it to me and then I can pass it along, or sometimes I can give you like the contact for the project of certain projects and then you guys can reach out to them directly.
Thanks.
Either way, it's fine.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Not all at once. I think Ms. Dunn. Thank you. All those in favor? Thanks very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Good
Good night.
Good night.